Good evening, televiewers. You're watching the 7 p.m. English newscast on Info Television. Our top stories. The senior divisional officer from Fundi, Emmanuel Mariel Jigdent, is urging the population to remain calm and respect law as the nation awaits the result of the presidential election. And after days of hesitation observed at the Constitutional Council, 10 petitioners have finally filed their petitions seeking a partial cancellation of the 2025 presidential election in some parts of Cameroon. Those were our headlines. Details right ahead. The senior divisional officer from Fundi, Emmanuel Mariel Jigdent, is urging the population to remain calm and to respect the laws as the nation awaits the result of the presidential election. This was during a high-level security meeting in his office that brought together local authorities. Patient Shintum gives us the details.
Tension may be high, but the senior divisional officer from Fundi, Emmanuel Mariel Jigdent, is calling for calm. During a high-level security meeting that brought together divisional officers and mayors, the Fundi SDO addresses concerns about hostile messages circulating on social media ahead of the proclamation of election results.
Yaoundé is for everybody. So, those who will accept to go out for the disorder, they will meet the forces of law in front of them. And we had meeting yesterday with association of motor taxi, motorbikes. They ensure us that they will never accept disorder.
He stresses the importance of maintaining peace, order, and social cohesion, warning against any attempts to incite violence or disrupt public order.
We will not accept the disorder in Yaoundé. And Yaoundé has a particularity. It is the capital of Cameroon. When somebody is punished, he is punished alone. He will never call the one who sent him.
Participants are reminded Cameroon's strength lies in unity and mutual respect, even during politically sensitive moments.
It's the peace after this election, and everybody has to continue to live normally without any problem.
The DO of Yaoundé 5 and myself will convene a meeting that will group all the chiefs, all the community leaders, and all the leaders of political parties of Yaoundé 5 in order to sensitize them for the necessity to maintain peace. The vote has passed and we should respect the expression of the Cameroonians.
As they return to their respective municipalities, mayors are tasked with spreading the message of peace, unity, and togetherness among their local populations, ensuring that harmony prevails across the Fundi division.
It's important for us to respect the result of the electoral processes who have been organized last Sunday and to take all the measures with our colleague and our collaborator of the municipality police.
He ends with a strong appeal to the nation's youth, urging them not to be swayed by political manipulation, but to stand as guardians of peace and the future of Cameroon.
In the west region of Cameroon, specifically in the city of Chang, clashes between protesters claiming to be members of the FSNC party and the forces of law and order have caused extensive material damage, and this has left the city and region in total panic. A recap of what happened in this report compiled by Mimi Tiobo.
The city of Chang is still in shock as it wakes up on Thursday, October 16, 2025, after a night marked by violent clashes between law enforcement and protesters. The protesters claim to be supporters of the FSNC political party led by Issa Chiruma Bakari, a candidate in the just ended October 12 presidential election. In a rare and intense wave of protests, several buildings were targeted, looted and set on fire. The CPTM party headquarters, the annex building of the court, the rector's residence and the university, and municipal equipment including compactors, garbage trucks and tricycles were all affected. The office of the divisional Elekam branch were also targeted.
Nous, on ne va pas vous expliquer comment nous avons fait pour récupérer. Mais nous, on a eu quelques résultats ici, tu vois, à 100%. Et nous avons besoin d'un responsable pour venir nous trouver ici pour récupérer ça, pour garder.
Parce que c'est ça qui peut nous aider au tribunal demain.
Et nous, on va continuer notre chasse devant le parquet.
The violence was eventually brought under control by the deployment of the National Gendarmerie, led by Colonel Abba Seydou, commander of the West Region Gendarmerie.
Le centre-ville de Chang a été sécurisé.
The central town of Chang was totally secured, except of the city council building, which caught fire, and a part of the police station zone. All these mafia transported themselves to the rector's house as they started burning the gate entrance. Fortunately, we came on time, and we have about 20-something rioters in the rector's residence. We are removing them. We have already removed about 5. The others are still up. The arrested rioters are currently detained, and investigations are ongoing to apprehend those who fled. The city of Chang remains under heavy surveillance, and the assessment of the damage is expected to be severe.
After days of hesitation observed at the Constitutional Council, 10 petitioners have finally filed their petitions seeking a partial cancellation of the 2025 presidential election in some cities or a postponement of the polls. Phillips Enchi takes a closer look at the situation in this report.
As the October 27 deadline for the proclamation of the 2025 presidential election results fast approaches, 10 petitions has been filed before the Constitutional Council by political party leaders and organizations dissatisfied with the conduct of the October 12 presidential election. Among the petitioners is Bertin Kisop, an active member of the Union for Change, who was arrested in 2017 and claimed to have been unjustly detained at the Yaoundé Koundéngui Central Prison in connection with the Anglophone crisis. He is calling for an immediate release, citing a violation of his constitutional rights and advocating for federalism. The Popular Movement for the Emergence of Cameroon also filed a petition on October 15, 2025, seeking the annulment of electoral operations in the Mayo Messi subdivision, citing electoral fraud, obstruction of freedom, and violation of individual rights. Meanwhile, Cabral Libi is calling for a partial cancellation of elections in certain polling stations across Douala and the Villa Division. The Global International Intel Post of Cameroon has submitted a petition requesting the postponement of both the October presidential election and the November 30th regional election to a more convenient date, among other concerns. The Constitutional Council is expected in the coming days to rule on these various petitions. Although the filing deadline has passed, the Constitutional Council is now awaiting official reports from the different polling stations. These reports are to be forwarded within 48 hours after onward transmissions of the vote to the Divisional Vote Counting Commissions, which must in turn transmit them within 72 hours to the National Vote Counting Commission, chaired by a member of the Constitutional Council. Divisional Commissions now have less than 24 hours to ensure all ballots from their areas reach the Council. Currently, only 2 of the 6 divisions in the southwest regions have submitted their official reports, while the littoral, south and other regions are expected to transmit theirs in the coming hours. Once all reports are received, the National Commission will begin the official vote counting, expected to last 5 days, after which the winner of the 2025 presidential election will be formally proclaimed. With the growing anticipation, Cameroonians await the announcement of results, hoping that justice, transparency, and the rule of law will prevail as the nation looks forward to welcoming its next head of state.
A joint election observation mission known as Nouvelle Perspective Suisse and Nouvelle Perspective Cameroun held a press briefing on October 15 in Yaoundé aimed at providing an assessment of the October 12 presidential election. According to the head of mission, General Sekouba Konate, the election took place without any major incident. Details in this report.
A total of 35 international observers from 11 countries were deployed to 5 regions of Cameroon to observe the presidential election of October 12, headed by General Sekouba Konate, mission lead. The 2 observation missions were established by the NGO Nouvelle Perspective Internationale as key events leading up to the election were reviewed.
La mission a également rencontré des responsables du ministère de l'administration.
The mission equally met with workers of the Ministry of Territorial Administration (ELECAM) and political parties, and equally the African Union observers. The presidential election of October 12, 2025 intervenes after the convening of the Electoral Corps by Cameroon's President of the Republic. On election day, international observers covered a total of 1,430 polling stations, and their findings were:
Les bureaux ont ouvert majoritairement à l'heure prévue.
Offices opened at the fixed time, which was 6 a.m. on the dot. Lateness in starting was observed due to the absence of certain documents. The atmosphere was calm, with professional and discreet presence of the forces of law and order. The electoral materials were available in sufficient quantity. 65% of the bureaus observed were accessible to people with incapabilities. Voters were identified and they voted following all the voting norms. The election was generally well conducted, praised by Nouvelle Perspective Switzerland, which nevertheless emphasized on recommendations to ensure that everything proceeded well. As for the recommendations, guaranteeing the accessibility of bureaus to the people with incapabilities, reinforcing the capacity of young people who are of voting age on the voting procedures, equally calling on all candidates to wait for the proclamation of official results by the institution in charge. The mission promises that it will continue to closely monitor announcement and validation of the results by the relevant authorities, while confirming its commitment to supporting Cameroon in its efforts.
And in health today, the world celebrates World Anesthesia Day, a day which highlights the indispensability of anesthesiologists in health emergency and critical care settings. With the role anesthesia plays, our reporter Agnes Ayog visited an anesthesiologist at the Fulan District Hospital, at the Fulan Regional Hospital, I beg your pardon, to find out if the administration of anesthesia has future consequences on individuals. Her reports.
Anesthesia being basically the suppression of painful sensitivity to ensure that patients undergo operation procedures without discomfort. This plays a crucial role in the surgical environment. In the operating room, the surgical team must manage the patient's experience of pain during surgery, and this is achieved through different types of anesthesia.
Le rôle de l'anesthésie au bloc opératoire.
The role of anesthesia at the operating room is to make sure that the patient does not feel pain during surgery. We have 2 types of anesthesia. We can do a general anesthesia or a local regional anesthesia. With instances where patients may not respond adequately to anesthesia, that is, in such cases where the initial anesthesia fails to provide adequate pain relief, the anesthesiologist switches to general anesthesia to ensure the patient's comfort throughout the procedure. If we want to carry out a surgery by using local anesthesia and it does not match, we are forced to complete it with a general anesthesia, but we always do a pre-anesthesia consultation. So we prepare the patient's data, and according to the administration of the anesthesia, we can define which anesthesia can be used. According to the anesthesiologist, there are no positive risks in the future. We know that there is no zero risk, but with the evolution of technology, we also have anesthesia drugs that are administered as early as possible. Before, after the administration of general anesthesia on a patient, the patient could sleep for 24 to 48 hours. But nowadays, when we do a general anesthesia on a patient, from 4 to 6 hours, the patient is awake. This is because the anesthesia has expired. Thus, there are no harmful consequences for the patient in the future. It is therefore important to note that although the risks associated with anesthesia has drastically decreased due to scientific progress, there is no such thing as a zero-risk situation.
And as you just saw in that report, Agnes Ayok spoke with that senior nurse at the Fulan District Hospital. And still in health, with the COVID-19 making a comeback in Cameroon, health officials urge the population to be on calm, emphasizing that not all flu-like symptoms have a link with the coronavirus. In the following report, Patient Shintum spoke with medical experts who enlightens us. Her reports.
With the resurgence of COVID-19, fear is once again creeping through the streets of Yaoundé. Many residents now panic at the slightest cough or sneeze, uncertain whether it's a simple cold or the deadly virus making its comeback. Our newsroom sought clarification from a medical expert at the Fulan District Hospital to find out if every cold should be considered COVID-19. Speaking to us, the health professional explained that not all flu-like symptoms are linked to the virus, noting that some are merely common cold caused by seasonal changes or mild infections.
We are in the season where we commonly see the common cold due to viruses such as influenza virus or the syncytial respiratory virus.
On the streets, Yaoundé city dwellers shared the preventive measures they adopt to protect themselves and others, from wearing face masks to regular hand washing and taking warm drinks.
J'ai des bonbons que je prends, les bonbons Oc.
I have sweets that I usually consume, and when I feel like there's too much dust, I use a face mask. Sometimes I wear it when I have cough so that I don't contaminate my clients. I also use my elbows to cough when I have no mask. When I carry a client who is coughing, I immediately put on my face mask. I was just telling a lady a few minutes ago that she can't deprive herself from eating groundnuts just because of common cold. I advised her to eat, and then when she gets home, she should mix honey, lime, ginger and garlic, and then consume, and she'll feel better. Health experts, however, continue to urge citizens to respect COVID-19 barrier measures, warning that new variants of the virus are still circulating.
Concerning the measures that we can adopt in order to prevent this common cold, we have all the measures, all the barrier measures that have been put in place ever since the beginning of the pandemic, notably with the washing of hands. We have to continue washing our hands since the hands are the most common means through which we interact in our everyday activity, in our everyday life. You greet somebody, you use your hands. You touch money, you use your hands. Everything you do, you use your hands. So we have to continue washing our hands with clean soap. And every time each one coughs, you cough into your elbow and not into your palm. So you want to cough, look into your elbow, and you cough. And we keep respecting the measures of between distance.
As the saying goes, health is wealth, and residents are being reminded to stay alert, stay safe, and stay healthy.
The International Day of Rural Women is observed every year on October 15 to recognize rural women's crucial role in agriculture. These women in Cameroon play an important role in the food supply chain. Mimi Tiobo visited the Mfundi and the Tanganambala markets in Yaoundé and says rural women are breaking the barriers of food supply. Her reports.
In celebration of the International Day of Rural Women on October 15, the rural women of Cameroon are taking proactive steps to empower themselves and their community by focusing on producing foodstuff, not only showcasing their agricultural powers, but also contributing to food security and economic stability. Visiting the Fundi and Atangambala market in Yaoundé, we glimpse into the significant role rural women played in food production and supplied. As you see in the town, there are women who comes and supply them to us in the night, and here we sell them in bulk, and our money is given in express. Those who don't have money to buy, there is also confidence in relationship. She can come with 15 bags of potatoes. The variety and quantity of foodstuffs sold, such as cocoyam, cassava, plantain, and others, demonstrates their hard work and dedication to feeding their families and the community. In the BAM and Inugu, all this comes from the BAM. We buy in bulk, then we load everything and bring it here. The week that there is no foodstuff, the few people that have sell it expensive, since it is not in the village. As it rains, they are afloat in the farms. The highlights of the challenges rural women face, including limited access to resources, infrastructures, and economic opportunity. Despite these obstacles, there continues to be the backbone of their community, showcasing their resilience and determination. The difficulties in the village. There are no roads. In our village, there are no roads. So the transport is really expensive because there are no roads. So you see, to succeed here in town, you are obliged to add prices of your goods to succeed because there are no roads. Supporting rural women and their agricultural endeavors has helped empower them to improve their livelihood and contribute to food security and economic growth.
Any news from across our borders, from Sudan to Madagascar and Rome, urgent calls for action echo across continents. And while in Italy, the Pope has urged world leaders to confront global hunger, calling it a collective failure. Jessica Ndiwum compiled all of that in this report.
A cholera outbreak that began in the middle of last year continues to claim lives across Sudan, with the World Health Organization sounding the alarm. The Federal Ministry of Health earlier this week reported 120,496 cases and 3,368 deaths nationwide. On Wednesday, the World Health Organization warned that at 2.8%, the fatality rate is nearly 3 times the emergency threshold. This, it said, signals the cholera outbreak is spiraling beyond control and requires an immediate scale-up of response efforts. Conflicts, displacement, and heavy rains continue to hamper efforts to prevent the rapid spread of the bacterial disease. Usually transmitted through contaminated food or water, it can kill within hours if left untreated. But as the war in Sudan rages on, millions across the country are struggling to access clean water, sanitation, and health care. In Madagascar, the African Union announced on Wednesday that it had suspended Madagascar from its borders with immediate effect until constitutional order is restored after a coup that ousted President Andry Rajoelina. The group previously suspended several other member states after military coups, including Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea. The uprising resulted in a military-backed coup that brought Rajoelina to power as the transitional leader of his Indian Ocean country at the age of just 34. On Tuesday, the same military unit that aided Rajoelina's rise declared it was taking power in Madagascar and ousting him as president following weeks of youth-led protest, this time against Rajoelina and his government. About 75% of the country's 30 million people are affected by poverty, according to the World Bank, with lack of access to higher education, government corruption, and the cost of living among the issues dominating the recent protest. In Italy, Pope Leo XIV this Thursday called on world leaders to show responsibility and not look the other way when faced with world food emergencies. The Holy Father spoke at the World Food Day Global Ceremony, which has marked the 80th anniversary of the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization at its headquarters in Rome. Pope Leo XIV cited UN data showing that around 673 million people do not eat enough each day. In his social handle X, known as Twitter, he said, "In our age, science has extended life expectancy, technology has brought continents closer, and knowledge has opened horizons once thought unmanageable. Therefore, allowing millions of human beings to live and die stricken by hunger is a collective failure, an ethical lapse, and historical culpability." His plea comes as UN food aid agencies face severe funding cuts from their top donors, putting key operations on the ground at risk.
And now let's talk sports, as 28 countries are set to participate in the Global Football Jamboree come 2026, with some African countries among. Though Cameroon is yet to secure a ticket, Philips Enchi presents the list of some qualified nations and their potentials to stand in this competition. His reports.
Stories of the qualifiers. The Blue Sharks atop Group D after a fierce battle with Cameroon, sealing their maiden World Cup appearance with a 3-0 win over Eswatini. With a population of just 500,000, Cabo Verde becomes the second last populous country ever to reach the World Cup, following Iceland's. Similarly, Ghana's Black Star is expected to make its 5th World Cup appearance after a 1-0 victory against Comoros on October 12, 2025 to secure the top spot in Group I. Having made their debut during the Germany 2026 World Cup, the qualification add another powerhouse to Africa's growing contingent for the 2026 tournament. Outside the African continent, England continued with its strong World Cup tradition by sealing qualification for an 8th consecutive appearance.